two writers, one just starting out, the other a bestseller. Join James Blatch and Mark Dawson and their amazing guests as they discuss how you can make a living telling stories. There's never been a better time to be a writer.
Hello and welcome to the Self-Publishing Formula podcast with James and Mark. You're very welcome to be here, and Mark, that will be the very last time I ever say that.
Will it? No, it will. That's right. No, we're changing.
No, I'm not going anywhere. For people watching on YouTube, I did a dramatic flouncy walkout, but I'm back. We are rebranding. This is our last episode 149. So can you believe we're getting to 150 episodes next Friday?
I know. That's quite amazing, isn't it? How many? That's three years, pretty much, give or take, we've been doing this for.
Yeah. And we've enjoyed it very much, but we feel
I haven't.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it occasionally. No, we do enjoy it. And it's been brilliant, actually. It's been, and when we're out and about, and I mentioned this the other week about being in 20 Books in Vegas and people just knowing us from the podcast and saying thank you is hugely gratifying and nice experience. But we just thought we'd give it a lick of paint, really, and a little bit of a rebrand. And we are relaunching next Friday as the Self-Publishing Show. So we're going to be the Self-Publishing Show. And we've got a new home on the internet, selfpublishingshow.com. And you'll also find us, and we should say, this is a rebrand rather than a stop and start again. So you'll find us in all the usual places. At least, Mark, you should do.
This is the theory. Yeah, we've been I think some people have been testing this in the background, so hopefully it all works seamlessly. But you never know with these things. You
never quite know. But the idea is that our iTunes feed will remain the same with the reviews and the love that we've got on there, and YouTube the same. And this is going to be an acknowledgement, I think, that the show is as much video as it is audio, and it's generally covers all areas of self-publishing, so we're not narrowing ourselves down to anything. And it's exciting, and you're a part of it. So thank you very much indeed for making this show everything that it is. So we sort of say thank you to our original guests. You can carry on listening. We're not changing the audience, are we? You don't have to stop and start.
We're not, no. And who would have thought that the Self-Publishing Show or Self-Publishing Show would have been available as a URL?
Yeah, I was amazed. So we grabbed that.
I was surprised as well. So no, it's I think it's fair enough. And we've I strongly recommend people watch it on YouTube next week because we are making a big effort to improve the quality of the video experience. It was going to be a show. We're going to concentrate on that. So we've got some amazing new intro. The introduction sequence is just fantastic. I can't stop watching it, to be honest. It's really, really good. So John Dyer has been working on that in the background, and we are very pleased with that. We've got Huey from the Fun Loving Criminals doing the voiceover. It looks kind of broadcast quality, doesn't it? It is. It's really good. And
it'll just be the same old us, though.
And it will, but then we'll look a bit better because I've now got a camera rather than my webcam. So this is the last one you'll see in this part of the office. The next time will be over there in what's now going to be the Self-Publishing Show outside broadcast wing.
Yeah.
With a nice camera and some lighting and some other bits and bobs that I'm going to be shipping in there not too long. So it will look nice. We're gonna look pretty impressive, I think.
Yeah, I can't wait. Now, on the note of how we got here with the listeners and the support of you listening. And I want to say a big welcome to our new Patreon listeners, people who support this show at patreon.com/SPF podcast. I'll have to look at whether we can get a URL set up for that as well. I'll have to talk to our friends at Patreon and get that changed. That's one for the future. Let me say a big welcome to those who are joining us as Patreon supporters. I'm going to move this in so I'm not staring off screen. And we are saying hello to Mrs. Megan Jones from Selby in North Yorkshire here in the UK. Welcome, Megan. Brittany A. Fitcher in Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Yes, sir. Fort Bragg, big army town in North Carolina. Mike McCrary from Austin, Texas. Obviously a hippie from Austin. Evie Jones from Falls Church, Virginia. Doesn't that sound like a nice place to live? Falls Church, Virginia.
It does. That's on hippie. You mean hipster, don't you? I don't think you'd be a hippie in Austin.
Hipster. A hipster.
He's probably not a hipster either. You've just
he's not at all.
He's
probably an accountant, but
it gets worse.
He's an author. That's the important thing. Mike,
better.
You're very welcome. You didn't realise you're going to be insulted, did you, when you signed up for Patreon supporters? We're excited to have you. Ruth Harding from Bury in the United Kingdom, which I guess is the Bury near Manchester, or possibly Bury St Edmunds near me, probably Bury near Manchester. Kim Hamilton of No Fixed Abode. Actually, the rest we don't have locations for. Martina Dalton, Andres Cabell maybe, Tina Williams, David Calendar, Barbara Cam, Liz Schmidt, and Elizabeth Hager. Thank you all so much for going to patreon.com/SPF podcast and supporting the episodes. You can do that for as little as $1 an episode, and you get goodies and VIP treatment as a result of doing that.
And one of the goodies that you get is this goes out on Friday. We'll have done this already. On Wednesday, we've got Tammy Lebrecht coming to deliver, not really a webinar, more of a kind of a chat about mailing lists with James. I'll probably be on that call as well. I might even chip in a bit because I think it's really interesting, and Tammy is very good at that. And we're trying to do monthly webinars or events like this that are exclusive for students, so people in the Mastery or the Genius Facebook groups for the courses, and also for all Patreon subscribers. So we'll give you the chance to come along. You can ask questions, and these are valuable. We've had Adam Croft on. I've done one. Tammy is coming on. We've got Damon Courtney from Book Funnel coming on. James might do something on video and Facebook Live and that kind of stuff. And we'll try and keep that. We've got Craig Martell, Michael Andrei coming on, maybe David Gogwin. So we'll have a lot of people I would consider to be experts in the things that we're asking them about coming on to pass their knowledge on to the SPF supporters in the SPFU *, not university.
Yeah. I'm still hopeful to get my degree eventually from SPFU. Good. Well, we should also say congratulations to our friend Jonah Penn, because whilst we're celebrating 150 episodes next week, and we're rightly proud of that, she has been around the block a little bit longer than us, hasn't she?
Charming.
I'm on it today, aren't I?
She's, I think she's done over. I know she's done over 400 episodes now, so she's way ahead. But she had her 10th anniversary of the podcast. It was, as we record it, it's today. So we're recording this on a Monday. I think next year she's got the 10th anniversary of. No, what is it? There's two 10-year anniversaries basically, but yes, the 10th year anniversary of not the podcast. The 10-year anniversary is of her blog this week. The podcast is next year. Yeah. So she did a really good episode, kind of looking back at things that she's seen over the course of the last decade, and we'll be doing something similar to that next week, because some people may not have heard of I was a lawyer and happy in law, going to various jobs and eventually finding the thing that I love the most, and also heading towards a fairly significant landmark, which at present rate will be in about 3 days' time. So we can have a little
party popper.
I probably should do. Yeah, I'm just looking at my book report right now, and it's just gradually ticking up towards this milestone. Yeah. So we didn't plan this. It's kind of the 150th episode of the podcast and this particular milestone.
Well, I think from my point of view and from listeners' point of view, a good way of doing that next week is for me to find out how you got there. And that will include, I know we're not allowed to say the J word. That will include
not allowed to use
the way that you travelled from where you started to today. And I'll be asking lots of little nuanced questions about some of the decisions you made along the way, what you would have done differently, what you know today you didn't know a year ago, and all that stuff. So let's do an episode like that and try and learn from it. And those of us on the way up, try and replicate it. But yes, that's exciting for you. So we'll save our congratulations because, of course, people might just stop buying your books in half an hour and then it's
that's possible. It's entirely possible. The way Amazon's been the last 3 or 4 months, I wouldn't put anything past that.
Okay, we do have a good episode today. We are talking to Craig Tuch from Hidden Gems. And if you don't know what Hidden Gems are, well, Craig explains it very well in the interview itself. Effectively, it's an ARC program for you, so your advanced reader. What does the C stand for in ARC?
Copy.
Advanced reader copy. Okay, so it's the actual book that goes out, if you like. Mm-hmm. Art might be better. Advanced reader team, as we refer to them. Your ARC team, I suppose, is what you say.
You don't send out an art. You don't send out an art copy.
No, people talk about their ARC.
But actually, you do send out an ARC copy because they'll be sending an advanced reader copy.
Yes. Yeah.
Sorry, everyone. We're going down a rabbit hole.
This is what Noah had.
Nothing will change next week.
Yes.
We'll still be unprofessional.
Rambling like this after the beautiful intro. Okay, look, let's hear from Craig, and then you and I can have a chat about him. Craig, hello, welcome to the podcast, and we should say welcome to our Canadian friends over there. Is it getting cold yet this time of year, or is it still balmy?
It's been cold, and then today it just shot up to like 28, so it got really hot all of a sudden. So I don't know what's going on.
That's what it's done here as well. So it must be because we share the same queen. We have the very similar weather, and because we share the queen, I have to start with the weather because every conversation in the United Kingdom starts with the weather. So I want to make you feel part of the Commonwealth.
Similar here.
Good. Okay, let's get on to the business of this. We're going to talk a bit about your author services, and in particular the Hidden Gems service and reviews and advanced readers and all of that stuff to come. But let's start a little bit with you, because you are an author yourself, Craig. Just give us a bit of background to yourself.
Yeah, I started writing. Well, I guess I've always been writing, but I was in a job. I was a product manager, actually, for a big company, and never happy with it, really. I was a developer first, product manager. And then I just, I started writing, and I started, putting those books up on Amazon. This was probably maybe 5 or 6 years ago at this point. And I started doing well. I was selling. I was writing in a genre. I was writing in romance, not a genre that I typically love to read, but it was one that sold well, and I was able to write it fairly well. So it was good enough to allow me to quit my job.
So that was a commercial. Sorry to interrupt you. That was a commercial decision you made early on that genre selection.
Yeah, it was completely commercial. I don't. For me, I would read science fiction, fantasy, maybe some young adult even. But I know at that time, this was back, before KU even. The market was just better for romance, and I didn't mind writing in it. So I took a leave of absence from my job, actually, for about a year to see if I could make it work. And I did. I mean, it's scary. I have a family. I have a couple kids. It's hard to leave a well-paying job to do something like that. But it worked out. And then I got into the community for a while and started to see sort of some of the pain points of for writers. So I started a service. I started Hidden Gems. At that time, it was called Hidden Gems Romance, specifically for romance. Started off with a newsletter, and then branched quickly into the review service, because it was clear to me that that's where the real tough thing was. I mean, people were sending their books out to review, but they weren't getting anything back, or they were getting very little, and really they're sort of minding their own list of readers that are their own list of fans, which is always kind of a I think it's kind of a mistake, because, these are people on your own mailing list that have proven that they want to buy your stuff. They will buy it. You don't need to send them free copies, right? They were already customers, and really you're just missing out on sales that way. So I started a service where, these were people that were not already your fans, and it was a way to sort of expand your readership and get reviews at the same time.
Okay, well done.
I stopped writing.
Okay, so well done on that decision, by the way, just to quit your job and give that a go. It's not necessarily the recommended course for everyone, and it can have its stresses and strains, but you obviously applied yourself and chose a genre you don't even read and made it pay the bills.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I went on a leave of absence, so I had a backup, right? I could go back.
Okay.
And then, it just, I didn't have to.
Okay, good. Now, there's something like an aircraft or a vacuum cleaner going on somewhere. I'm not sure if it's at my end or your end, but we'll just... That's fine.
My end. They're doing some construction behind the house.
Do you know what? It's not massively intrusive. I just mention it because if people are on their jog listening to this and they're thinking, there's a helicopter following me, just so they know. Okay, look, it's fine. Let's move on. So, review. So you discovered this pain point, which, the best services that spring up in the indie world are authors themselves who've discovered a pain point. And I think probably the classic example is Damon Courtney and BookFunnel, who just realised there's got to be a way of doing this. And you had a bit of a background. Did you say you were in developing before? You're a developer?
Yeah, I was a developer and a product manager. So I was able to build up Hidden Gems completely from the ground up. I didn't do developing myself, but I hired a couple developers and I do all the design. The software for it is it's based on WordPress, but it's completely built from the ground up, customized WordPress plugins that we've built that are specifically for Hidden Gems. Yeah.
Okay, and just explain what the service did. You hinted at it before when you talked about the difficulty of getting reviews and using your list, but tell us what the service does.
Right. So, an author would sign up for one of the, we have, I think, 15 or 16 genres now, and they will send us their information about their book, their cover, their blurb, and we send that out to our readers. And if the readers, and so our readers are segregated into the different genres. So we're not going to send a romance book out to a bunch of science fiction readers. And then even from that, they have a choice. Do they want to read that book? There's no quotas, there's no limits. Everything's voluntary. If they like what the description is, what the cover looks like, everything like that, they sign up, and then we would send them the book and they would read it, hopefully review it, and that's it pretty much.
And you say hopefully review, and it's quite an important point to make here about the Amazon terms of service here, because you've obviously got to be careful. Amazon do make it clear that you can't ask for a review in return for goods or payment.
Exactly. Yeah. All of our readers are book lovers. They know that part of our service is for people that love to read and love to leave reviews. We can't force them, of course, but from what we found, most of the people, we have about an 80% review rate, but that's an average, right? Some books are going to get less, some are more. I think it mostly depends on the quality of book. If there's issues with the book, a lot of people choose not to leave reviews. Some people do leave some people do leave reviews, and they're not necessarily positive. We can't guarantee, the quality of the review either. So, but hopefully,
okay. Well,
the book is.
I guess one important factor here, and you mentioned it in making sure that the reviews are going to be better rather than poorer, as long as the book's okay, is making sure they go to the right readers. Because, authors can exchange all day long silly reviews they've had, and quite often it's, I read science fiction, so this romance book was terrible, is a really rubbish review to end up for a romance reader. Right. But you find your audience do segment themselves, and you work hard on making sure there's a high degree of relevancy.
Yeah, we have all the list of genres, and the readers self-select themselves into which genres. They're not just one. Most people read more than one genre, but typically, if they read them all, they probably have a favorite genre. So a romance reader maybe reads some fantasy, some YA, and then if we send out more than one book in a day, and typically we do, we'll send off usually 3 or 4 or 5 books out to our list in a day. And if they see more than one, they'll usually pick their favorite, or they can sign up for all of them. We don't send them more than one typically, unless they're like very disparate. So I might send a cookbook out to a reader that on the same day that they get a romance book, but I wouldn't send like 2 fiction books generally on the same day. And we, people have at least a week before we're even bugging them and reminding them, hey, if you're going to leave a review, now's a good time to do it. So they have the time, and
okay.
they manage their own time as well.
Sure. And when you say send out the books, we're talking electronic versions, ebooks.
Yeah, they're all ebooks. We send out a link for them to download, and then once the review period's over, we shut that link down, basically.
Okay, and you've obviously got an automated system in place to nudge people along, as you say, and hopefully get them to leave a review.
Yeah, just we send reminders. They have a reader forum, and if they choose not to leave a review, there's a spot on the reader forum where they can write, I didn't like the book, or I didn't have time to read it, or I changed my mind, whatever the reason is. They can fill that out. It's a free form field. I don't generally even read it that much. It's just there for us to capture. But But yeah, they can write whatever they want.
And how much does this service cost the author?
So the author is paying $3 per reader that we send the book out to, with the first 10 readers just being a flat $20. That's their deposit. So there's a deposit to lock down your date. We're sold out pretty far in advance. Like right now, I think the earliest bookings we have are about April or May next year. Yeah, it's tough. Yeah. The service has exploded a lot lately.
I better start planning ahead.
It's tough. We have a waiting list, and we do try to move people up as fast as we can. The issue is, the amount of readers we have. Like if we had unlimited readers, then there would be no waiting list. But, we can't force people to read. And, if a book isn't as appealing, then we don't necessarily get the number of readers that a person wants. So if somebody asks, we have a 50 reader minimum, so you can't ask for 10. But if you ask for 50 and we only get you 10, we're only going to charge you for 10, right? So we're not charging per review because we can't guarantee the reviews, but we're charging per number of people that have signed up and that we're sending the book to. And then we have a max where we won't charge more than basically 140 readers. So if you ask for max, you'll pay the price. It's about $400, and then we'll send it out to everybody that wants it. So even if you have 200-300 people, you'll still just pay a flat 400 or whatever.
Okay, I'll ask you a bit about the value of that in a moment, but just on the service itself then. So how do you grow your list?
Well, there's a number of ways, but that is the biggest pain point in the business. Really, is I advertise on Facebook saying, "Hey, do you love to read? Come join our service." Authors give me access to, not give me access, but they'll send out like an ad to their own lists saying, "Hey, join Hidden Gems." Right? I have an affiliate program where I'll pay an author, a certain amount per sign up that I get from that sort of thing. So if they send it out and they get 100 people that clicked from their link to our service and signed up, then I'd pay them for those 100 people or whatever. So there's various ways, but expanding the list is my number one sort of priority, because I don't want to have a waiting list any more than the authors do, and I know it's a pain for them, right? So
yeah, sure. Are you happy to share the size of your list roughly, or do you keep that confidential?
No, I it's hard because it's segmented so broadly. I think overall it's 10,000 or so, but I clean it every couple months because we pay for the list size, as I'm sure you know.
Sure.
So having a bunch of people that never read books and never open the emails even doesn't do anyone any good. So I continually clean every couple months. I'm pulling off a couple thousand people. So it's been hovering around 10,000 or so for I don't know, the last 6 months or so.
Okay, so let's talk about the value of a review. How important is it to have reviews?
I think it's really important. I think, there's a number of studies that I've sort of linked to in a few of the articles that I've written online where, some of them are saying, I had a couple up here, displaying reviews can increase conversion by 270%. Is one of the reviews. And even bad reviews, there's studies that say that a few bad reviews are not a bad thing. In fact, they are a good thing in the sense that they provide more legitimacy to your reviews. If you see a book that has 100 reviews and they're all 5-star, you're kind of suspect, right? No book has that, right? You can look at some of the best books in the world and they all have bad reviews. There's always people that don't like books. But if everybody loves your book, then you're kind of thinking, how realistic is that? So there are studies that say that having a few bad reviews is even benefits your sales. Of course, you don't want all bad reviews, but a few of them. So it does. There's a number of things. It generates buzz. Word of mouth. People buy things based on reviews. You go to Amazon, you want to buy anything, one of the first things you're looking at is how many other people bought it. It's the social proof of someone else already took a chance on this product, and this is what they thought of it. I don't have to be the first one, kind of thing, right? So, and then there's services like BookBub, right, that require you to have a certain number of reviews before they'll even take you. So from a marketing perspective, you need reviews for services like that.
Yeah, and someone who pointed out the other day to me, they're the new gatekeepers. We say that the gatekeepers are gone, but the reviews, your readers now, that is the service not exactly, but sort of decides whether a book's going to fly or not. You don't need an agent to read it and tell you, no, we're not publishing this. You can just put it up there and see what people think. So reviews are effectively the new gatekeeping service. Very egalitarian. You talk about it being valuable, and a lot of people do struggle in this area. And I'm just trying to think in terms of value. I mean, if it's $400 for your sort of maximum service and you're getting roughly 80%, I mean, for $400, you're getting more than 100 reviews. Is that realistic?
Typically the people that are paying, a lot of people ask for the max service, but they don't get it. And to be honest, romance and erotica are pretty much the only genres that we get a high number of signups, and that's mainly because there's more readers, and there's more readers that we started with because we started with romance only. Even with the ARC product, for the first couple of years, I think we only did romance. So our list was pretty romance heavy. There's some genres that are very polarizing. So self-help, general fiction, general nonfiction, those kind of books, you either are interested in the topic or you're not. It's not a general fiction book that you're going to give it a try, right? You don't care about, dealing with anxiety or, how to have the perfect nails or whatever, right? So you either care about that or you don't. So those kind of books typically might only get 10 or 15 people signing up for them. Whereas, so a lot of those people still ask for the max, but they don't pay anywhere near that. Mainly it's the romance. And romance, a good contemporary romance will get, 200-300 people signing up. And then, they'll usually get on average about 80% of those. But even romance, I mean, if it's a very genre-specific romance, if it's let's say, there's some like sci-fi romance or historical Regency romance, those ones don't do as well with our readers. Not to say that they don't get good reviews, but they don't get the signups, the number of people signing up in general, just because there's less demand for them in our group, in our list. Doesn't mean that there's no demand out there, just in our particular list. And we're working to grow that in certainly all genres and all subcategories, but it takes time, unfortunately. So typically most of our authors are not paying the max, even though a lot of them ask for it. Most of them are paying, more like the minimum or even less than what the minimum is. Yeah.
Okay, and I mentioned terms of service there early on. Have you had any problems in that area? Because we do hear these stories of authors who might mail their own list and say it'd be lovely if you leave a review, and then see reviews being deleted because the Amazon's secret algorithm police have decided there's a link between a particular reviewer and an author.
There are all sorts of problems with dealing with Amazon. I don't know of any specific link with our reviewers in general, but our reviewers have been affected by them. Typically, what I find is usually if I see that somebody's having an issue, often they'll email me and tell me they get the standard, all of a sudden their reviews stop working, and there's a message that they're affiliated in some way with the author, or they're biased, their reviews are biased or whatever. So I have an email that I send off to those readers that suggests what they should do about it, and typically in the past it's worked fairly well. It doesn't always work, but I don't know what the particular circumstances are of that reader. I don't know if they have done something wrong, because it's not It's not specific to one review. Unfortunately, when they do this, when Amazon does this, what they do in almost every case is they delete every review the person's ever written, even for purchased items, and so you don't know what the problem was. Just one day they just can't write reviews. Some people, even before they've written the first review for us, tell us they're getting that message. And there's little that I can do directly, but what I do is I tell them, here's what you do: send an email off to there's a couple different, there's a review appeals address. There's a UK one and a .com one. That specifically is an Amazon address for problems with reviews where you want to say, look, this isn't a fair judgment. And sometimes I tell them to email Jeff at Amazon.com to escalate it even further up the chain, because we know that they don't like bad press, and typically what these people are unfairly targeted. It's just, it is an algorithm, right, that goes through and judges based on who knows what. So and often it works. They often get the appeal reversed and all their reviews restored. So they don't actually delete them, although they disappear, but they all come back. So they've basically hidden them, I guess.
Just ticked a box. And from the author's point of view, worse for them is that it's a bunch of reviews just disappear from their book. So then you're an author saying to Amazon, why have my reviews disappeared? And that's difficult because I guess you don't really know who's left a review or what their background is.
Yeah. And I mean, often the problem looks worse than it is. Like sometimes I'll have somebody say, I had, 5 reviews disappear. And then I'll have another author saying, I've had 2 disappear. Another one will, and all of these people will email me at once, and I'll find out it was really just a few reviewers. It wasn't a cumulative, this guy had 5 and this guy had 6 and this guy's had 3 and like add them all up. It's actually the same reviewers just got knocked out because they deleted everything. And then, but if I send them the email and they send the emails off to Amazon, then often they get restored. And in the past, we've had good luck. But yeah, you can't tell. Amazon isn't saying, and you can't ever. Some people don't get restored, and they don't ever tell them. And I actually feel like it's unfortunately it is a failure in Amazon of a lot of the first line reps not understanding the rules. Often they'll quote a rule that is not even true, and I'll say back to the author or to the reader, ask them to send you a link of where it says that, or like, because it's not true. They'll be like, oh, you're not allowed to do this. I'm like, sure you are. Where does it say that? And then, or they'll send back a link to something they've just totally misinterpreted it, and it has not been read correctly, and that rule has never been applied that way to anyone else. But that reviewer or that Amazon rep decided that it meant this and blocked the person. So it's unfortunate.
Yeah, one of the pitfalls of the modern author. Okay, before we just move off Hidden Gems onto one or two of the other services that you offer, you mentioned the waiting list up until sort of April next year. Is that presumably some genres have a shorter wait list than others, or do you get fewer submissions on some areas, or?
Well, it's sort of caught up. At one point, it was romance that had the longest waiting list. But because we have such a large list in romance, some, depending on the books and how many reviewers they want, I can often send more than one in a day. If somebody only wants 50 romance readers, I can sometimes put another 50 in that day and send 2 romance books off because we have more than enough to cover that off. So I've been able to pull back a lot of the wait for romance. I mean, obviously it's still a long wait, but it used to be that romance was way ahead of all the others. Now the others have sort of caught up. I think the other genres are sort of maybe March or April, whereas romance is June. So somewhere.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. That's amazing.
But I'm pulling back every day. I've sent just before this call. I sent 3 or 4 emails off to authors saying, "Hey, we've got an earlier date for you." Like things. Part of the problem with booking so far in advance for an author is they don't always know, so what their schedule is going to be like, and things change, right? So I'm always getting cancellations or date moves, where somebody says, "Oh, my book's not going to be ready. Can we move it another day?" So I'm shifting the schedule around a lot. So, books are getting moved around, but not always, and I can't guarantee anything.
So you need a list 10 times the size. You need 100,000.
That would solve all of my problems.
Yeah. Who doesn't want free books? Who doesn't want to read books for free?
That's what I think, right?
Yeah. Okay. So was Hidden Gem your first author service that you created?
Yeah, we started Hidden Gems Romance was the website, and it was at first, as I said, a mailing list. We still have that where we send off a list of books that are on sale or free 3 times a week. But that's romance specific. The lists I have for the other genres just aren't big enough to support that. You're not going to get enough, people interested. And we still run that, and that's a fairly, affordable service. Most of the spots are only $10. And then from there, we branched into the review service. And I started working on a beta review service, so beta reader service. So that's more of a, an in-depth read where the reader is providing very detailed information. The author can provide questions. Usually, I suggest at least 10 questions specific to their book. So you might ask, did the relationship between the main characters seem realistic to you, or did it fall flat? Or, it depends on the genre. They can be very specific or generic, whatever the author wants. And then the readers sort of answer those questions as they go, and provide sort of that more detailed feedback. So that's something that we're working on now. It's sort of in beta testing. I've run probably about 20 of them just for free. I do that for the authors when I'm testing out a new service. And so far the feedback's been really good. So that is, we're going to hopefully be launching that soon, but, if people want it, they can email me about it. And then we also provide cover design and editing services through some in-house sort of designers and editors that we work closely with, not in-house as in like this is my house, but as in like they're specifically ones that we vetted and that we are confident give the sort of quality that we're known for. So,
okay, and your service there, I guess, is suited to early authors with either no list or small list who don't have an advanced reader team. Bigger authors, more established, might have their own advanced reader team, but here you're getting the type of feedback that the ARC teams can give that can help shape the novel pre-publication. Is that what you're aiming for?
For the ARC group?
Yeah.
So, we get both. I have some New York Times bestsellers that use our service regularly, and I have a lot of new authors that use it. My own personal feeling, I touched on earlier, is that it's not always the best to use your own list. You've built this list up of people. People sign up to an author's list because they like the author's work, they've read the author's work, and they want to hear when the author's going to have another book out. Those are people that are willing to buy the book. And even though, a lot of people launch at a lower price, and even 99 cents, right? And you're only getting 30 cents back. So let's say, you have 200 people that sign up for your book from your own list. And so you don't lose out. And let's say you're launching at 99 cents. So you're fine sending out those 200 for free, right? So that's fine. You only miss out on $65. But the problem with that is that it's not just the money you've lost, but that those 200 people that probably would have bought your book in the first place, that rank is really what you're missing out on, right? Those 200 people would have probably bought it all around the same time when you launched, and that would have shot you up the Amazon seller list, which then leads to more organic sales because people see you in the top of the lists, right? So by sending it to our list or someone else's list, you're not cannibalizing your own known buyers, as well as you're exposing yourself to people that maybe have never heard of you, and then they get a free try at your book, and maybe they become fans. And that happens a lot. I see a lot of authors get back to me and say, oh, I got a bunch of people signing up for my list, and I've got all these people sending me emails now. And so, there's a lot of benefits beyond the review itself to using another service. There's a lot of exposure you get.
Yeah. Do any of your readers end up then going off and finding the author and joining their list? I mean, I'm assuming obviously you don't pass the email addresses because that would be not the way it works. But is this in any way, shape or form a list building service for authors? It's
not a list building service. It happens. I can't stop it, but I don't provide a way to do it. If a reader decides to go off and find the author, which is often not hard to do, right? You just go to the website, or even it's in their book, and sign up, then they can. And I know what happens because I've seen comments. So one of the things we do is we send on our reader form, we have a spot for readers to leave an optional comment to the author specifically, right? So it's not anything that goes to the review site. It doesn't go to Amazon, doesn't go to our website. It's a comment they leave for the author, and then we send that to the author at the end of the service. And so sometimes I'll see, somebody will say, hey, I loved your book, and I went and I joined your list, and I want to read more of them, and this and that. So it happens, but yeah, it's not meant as that sort of a service.
Okay. So if we list your services that you've got now, Craig, have we covered everything that you're offering at the moment, or you've got in beta?
Yeah. I think we're always looking at new stuff, but in general, those are our main things. I think our next big focus will be the beta reading service, because it seems like that's one of the, I've gotten some comments from authors saying, oh, other people do covers and other people do editing, so they don't need those services now, and that's true. Most authors, when they find a good editor, they find a good cover designer, they don't need any others. We want to be able to offer a complete sort of suite of services, and then be able to bundle and have pass savings along. So that's one of the reasons why we're offering those. But one of the things that they say is, like, the review service, we can't get anywhere else to this level and this quality, and the beta is what people are asking for a lot as well, because it's hard to find beta readers, and you have to go multiple places to find more than one. And really, with beta readers, you want more than one, because everyone's got an opinion, right? If you get one person beta reading your book, do you know that their opinion is the same as everyone else's, or is it a very personal opinion that they had? So it's often better to have 3 or 5 people reading the book, so that you can then see, okay, everyone is saying this about my book, so I really should pay more attention to that specific point.
Where can people find these services, Craig?
On hiddengemsbooks.com, and then in the author services section, we have all the services listed out. If people are interested in the beta reader service, it's not listed there because we're still testing it, but they can certainly email me, and I'll let them know the state of it, or whether we can take on some more tests. Okay. Any plans to resume your writing career? I would love to. I'm so busy now. Like, it's just that, this thing keeps me very busy. It's pretty much a one-man show. When I write emails, I sort of write as we, but it's more the royal we. Mm-hmm. I do have a couple developers, but they are just for developing, right? So they're busy with building out the new stuff. I'm busy designing the new stuff. I would love to read, but I have a list a mile long. One of the things I want to get, and I think will help us get more readers, is an app, right? Where people can share the app, and they can get their books on the app, and the notifications that new books have arrived. Where, one of the biggest problems with the service, any kind of mailing list service right now, is the mailing list is, they go to spam, they get blocked, they get lost in the shuffle of the inbox. I would love to disconnect from that, but it's a hard thing to do. So I think an app would help. So I'm designing an app, right? So there's always more to do. And I have an idea for a non-romance, a YA sort of sci-fi book, but I don't know when I'm going to get to write it. No, I know that How's your book coming, though?
Yeah, it's coming along now. I've got a program where I get kicked up the arse every week to produce some chapters. So that's that is the only way it's getting written, really, because I'm a bit like you. It's very difficult. But anyway, yes, it's cathartic though, writing, isn't it? It's a good thing to do. I would having got completely into it now and quite intensively into it now, I think I would miss it like anything if it suddenly disappeared.
Yeah, and I think, I'm sort of keeping up with it by writing feature articles and guest posts for other websites, but that's all I can, and my own blog as well, but that's all I can really, we try to write some author-centric emails on our blog, giving tips, and I have people, that's another thing, if authors want to write a guest post for us, they're welcome to submit something. But yeah, that's the only way I get any writing done these days.
Yeah. Okay, good. Craig, well, look, a busy man. Thank you so much indeed for taking time to join us today. And hiddengemsbooks.com is the place to go. I suppose if I was clever, I would have sorted out an affiliate link with you in advance, but that's fine. We'll just send everyone there, and you can buy me a beer at a conference at some point, if anyone signs up. Great. Well, we'll look forward to seeing how it grows, particularly your list, which is like your number one priority at the moment, isn't it? To get that waiting list down and get that list up.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Okay, there we are. There is Craig, who has his team of advanced readers for you to tap into and get that feedback and get those reviews and everything else. And he's expanding the service, as you've heard. His big focus, of course, is growing that list, but he's in a great position, one of the many companies in this self-publishing area who are providing a service, worked out a need, supplying a solution to it, and are growing in the process. It was good to talk to Craig. You've got quite a big old arc, do you not? Not quite as big as Noah's, but 700 odd?
Yes, about that. Yeah, 650, I think, at the moment. I've culled it a little bit over the last 6 months. But I'm expecting a book back from my editor, Jen, today, and I'll get that turned around and out for comments tomorrow for a release on the 21st. So they'll get about 10 days to look at that and come back with comments.
What stage do you send your book out?
Well, I don't. There's not much point in me sending out a book that hasn't been copy edited, because they'll just send back the same misspelt word 200 times. So I kind of what I do is get my copy editor to clean it up, so that when it goes out, the only errors in there are the ones that she may have missed, and there will be some. There always are, and that's not to say there's nothing wrong with that. It's just it's difficult, if not impossible, to catch them all with one pair of eyes. But the beauty of that is it's gone through a professional edit. It then goes out to 200, 300 people who will actively feed back, and anything that slips through, someone will see it. People read in different ways, so some of them will be very, very particular, pernickety even, and we'll go through it very, very carefully, and we'll suggest things, and we'll see things others don't. Others will read it on more of a macro level and will kind of correct, not so much the punctuation or the spelling. It'll be more about the guns don't work that way, Mark. And so they serve two distinct functions. So by the end of the process, I have a very, very clean manuscript with possibly no mistakes in it, or very few.
You sort of say macro level, and they might say guns don't work. But to me, in a way, that's almost still micro level. Does anyone feed back to you and say stuff about the story or the character and say, that's quite buy into this? Or
that is kind of very macro. No, I don't get that. I mean, very rarely, occasionally. I think my book Redeemer, I didn't like the ending, and they didn't like it either. So just having that confirmed to me was I think I would have changed it anyway, but it was, if there was any question, that would have persuaded me that I needed to work on it. So I spent another couple of weeks reworking the ending significantly, and then sent it back to them for, if you want to read the new ending, tell me what you think, and they will love that. So that's the only time. I mean, I've written 30 books now, remember, so I don't need developmental help very often. I have a very instinctive feel for story, just through a lot of practice. Occasionally they'll pick that up, but when I refer to macro level issues, I mean facts, really, fact checks. Yes. and continuity as well. So he had a red coat on here and then a white coat on 3 pages later, and then the micro level are the kind of the typos and the punctuation and that kind of stuff. So when everything is put together, lots of different people with different approaches to the actual manuscript, by the end of that process, it's clean. And then I'll send it again for a proofread, because it's possible that I could introduce changes. As I'm introducing changes, I could then have errors in the changes.
Yes.
So by the time that process takes about a month all in, and it produces a very, very clean manuscript.
And when people write to you and say that the Glock 9mm snub nose bullet will create a blood splatter that reaches 20 feet, I have personal experience. Do you ever refer those emails to the police, or?
No, I don't. Actually, one thing is worth mentioning. I don't think this is it's not kind of not to be mentioned. I got an email from Amazon today, a general email saying that they are now changing the. I'll get it on another screen up here. They're now changing the front end of the KDP platform. So instead of getting irritating emails about errors that readers have reported, there's now a central hub, which I think is called the quality dashboard or something along those lines, and what's it called? Quality issues, and they'll report open issues, books that have been suppressed, typos reported, all kinds of stuff like that. So it's much more convenient. And it just reminded me now that one of my books, the first one I ever wrote, has actually got a quality warning on the product page at the moment, because I did it's terrible, very lazy of me. I did an optical transfer. So I took...
Oh, no. Scanned it.
I scanned it effectively. And so just looking at some of these errors I was looking at earlier, it's changed the word corner into the word coma. It's Tomer, because the R and the N looks like an M.
Yes.
You think about how they look. And
into the coma.
It's put flatmate spelled with a numeral 1 where the L should be.
Right.
So I really need to change that, but no one buys that book. It never actually, it sold a bit last month. No, I'm going to change that. I'm being very lazy. So
is that the Rockstar?
Yes, it is.
That's the one. I have read that book.
Well, it's the first one I ever wrote.
Yeah. Good. Well, I'm pleased that you do get that, though, because I do point out typos in books I read. I don't think I've ever read a book without finding at least one typo and highlighting it on the Kindle and just putting a note. I'm pleased that they do go somewhere.
They do go to the authors, yeah. I mean, that first book. This will tell you. This was it's called The Art of Falling Apart. And since I optically transferred it and uploaded it very lazily, it's made nearly $5,000. So
there you go.
It's not bad, but I need to improve that, because maybe some people would have come in and bought that without reading anything else by me. And they may never read another one now, because they're like, he's obviously just scanning these in and he doesn't care. So,
he's driven me around the coma. Yes. I remember doing when I changed the name of my character from Jack. What did I change it from? From Jack to something else. But of course, the result of that replace all through a document is the unforeseen consequences of somebody putting on, I changed him from Jack to Nigel. So people started putting on their Nigellets before they went out the house.
There's a way to avoid that,
yes,
don't you?
I do know that now. I did this a long time ago when I was still wet behind the ears, like I'm not anymore. Okay, good. Excellent. Well, we're drawing it out. We're drawing out the last vestiges of daylight of the self-publishing Formula podcast, and we will return brand spanking new as the Self-Publishing Show, episode 150, and you will have a little party popper to pull to hopefully mark your big milestone this year, which we'll be all very excited about. And we look forward to finding out who is Mark Dawson in episode 150.
It's me. Anyway, yes.
Oh, that was quick.
See you next week.
Yeah, thanks. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to the Self-Publishing Formula podcast. Visit us at selfpublishingformula.com for more information, show notes, and links on today's topics. You can also sign up for our free video series on using Facebook ads to grow your mailing list. If you've enjoyed the show, please consider leaving us a review on iTunes. We'll see you next time.